David, welcome to People and Legal.
Absolute pleasure.
I've got to say, what a great name you've got.
So I've used that with all the guests.
Yeah, brilliant. So tell us about yourself.
So I'm by trade a solicitor, but I did start off in IT. I decided I want to be a lawyer, realized I'm not good at being a IT person or a lawyer, but there is a nice middle ground where I really found my place.
And tell us about your current business. Tell us about New Law.
We're a platform agnostic consultancy. We are a client advocate. We take a client from where they are now to what their future stack might be.
Yep.
Right from reviewing what their current processes are, reviewing the tech stack and deciding what phase, what they should change.
And what are the changes people are making? Obviously people are talking about AI and things like that, but what are the things that you're seeing in the market right now?
Well, the primary thing is we have a lot of legacy systems in the market, which were very good, and firms have been running them for 20 years. Those system changes used to be, you would plan for a decade or 2 decades. Those legacy systems, a lot of them are end of life, or they no longer integrate with the broader set of uses that a firm has, like CRM, intake, etc. So firms are going through that transition with AI, with, I guess, testing AI, not necessarily diving in just yet.
We had a really interesting discussion yesterday about AI. And I mean, I was getting quite heated about it, sort of saying that pretty much it's like, using AI without getting a consultant involved to sort of find out exactly what things it can solve for you and the results you're going to get, etc., is a bit like akin to, dropping an oil well or dropping a mining shaft into a place without doing the surveying.
Yeah, look, I think you're completely right. The human element's really, really important, and the training associated with utilizing AI and doing the analysis and trying to find a very practical use case for lawyers, like something that's easy to explain, something just easy to understand. And that's a good starting point to AI. Every lawyer doesn't want to be a prompt engineer. They don't want to type out essentially a paragraph or multiple paragraphs knowing how to talk to the AI. They want to be able to push a button and get the chronology that they want, exactly the chronology for their area of law. They want to get key case details in exactly the format that they want. So that involves understanding where the opportunities are. And right now they're small opportunities. We're not replacing all the staff. Small opportunities to solve a very specific problem. The problem could be something very simple, like I'm taking over a file and I need a 1-pager to get me up to date. This is something that used to be done manually. Somebody would read through the files late, key dates, action items, what are the next steps. That process can be shortcutted so people can work as a team. People can take a day off as opposed to being in a situation where they're essentially saying, it's easy to do it myself.
Is that the number one sort of use case you're seeing with firms? Is it the summarization? So they're taking a bunch of information, summarize it in a way they can actually digest? That's
one. And I guess the other one is to work out especially looking at the recent communication, what the next action items are.
Yeah.
So especially for firms that have been a little bit lax with proper task management and have kind of relied on recent communications or manual notes, they've tried to leapfrog it. It's not the best way of doing it, but they essentially go, have a look at the last couple of weeks of emails. What do I need to do next? Just to help them build that out. Ultimately, I think people are trying to solve problems with AI that they haven't considered. They haven't built the bones of their practice. And one of those key ones is task management. I need to know on every matter who has to do what when, whether it's for succession planning, if somebody is sick or takes a day off, or whether it's just to make sure you don't miss anything, to be able to cost a file appropriately. AI can help that. There are products like VXT, which records the call and then, gives you a list of action items.
Yep.
And those action items are great, but ultimately they'll need to go into like a dedicated task management system, either built into your PMS or like external task management workflow systems like 𝗍𝗿𝗆.
Who are you working with in a law firm, typically speaking? What kind of roles and people you're working with?
Well, obviously the initial engagements with management, but I think what makes our analysis, at least at the start of the project, unique is that we speak to every single group, either by practice area, but also by the specific role. So legal assistants, people collating briefs or doing kind of the grunt work, they have very different inefficiencies and very different requirements to what a senior partner has. Senior partner, a lot of the work is a black box. put this together and then I want to change something. I need to change one of these documents, put it together. They don't know that there's actually 2 hours of work after that. So in fact, a lot of the efficiency right now is more valuable to the junior lawyers and the paralegals than it is at senior partner level, realistically.
There's so many tools out there you can go and buy and use and things like that. And I just feel like, taking a breath and figuring out what you've got right now and figuring out what processes there are in a firm, what people are doing, what things, where the gaps are, where the holes are, fixing that kind of stuff first, and then actually plugging the solutions in, it seems like a sensible approach.
It is, but it almost needs to do both. That assessment needs to be done with the tools that are available in mind. If we go on a 6 months journey of drafting out workflows, detailed workflows, practice manuals, etc., that might be valuable. But ultimately, if the PMS tool can't, or the task management tool has a different way of managing tasks, a different way of structuring your matters, you go through a process of having to essentially do it again. So if you are looking to move off an older system, you have to have a decent understanding. What that means is essentially hands-on experience, or someone who has hands-on experience and can take you through that process.
Yep.
These are the tools that are available. We've got 5 different tools for precedent automation.
Yes.
These are the limitations of each one. This one does calculations. This one doesn't. This one is highly technical and only a specialist can do it. This one, a lawyer could do it.
Yep.
Working out approximately where the firm is from a complexity standpoint, what their needs are. Do we want the perfect precedent? As in, nobody touches it. I put in the fields, hit run, it's there. Or I'm okay with it just getting 80% and I'll do the final little bits. Deciding that, and then at the same time, collating your precedents, making sure that, well, they're up to date, that there's some sort of process for keeping those updated. Doing the due diligence with the tools in mind kind of lets you get a sense for where you're going. Otherwise, it's a review exercise for the sake of a review exercise that goes into a folder and sits there and doesn't do anything. So yes, it's a great opportunity. The other thing to keep in mind is lawyers are not like consultants. They don't live in a constant state of change management. They can do it for a little while, for a short time, but you want to be able to take the opportunity of potentially a system change or a proposed system change to change mindsets as well, to change processes as well when they're in that set. Once they're settled in, if it's a bad process, they'll follow a bad process. Lawyers are great at that. I've seen something either wasn't missed or wasn't discussed by a particular team, and whatever the bad process is, it'll be there for the next 4 years. They'll give you an extreme example where this was from a very long time ago. Somebody forgot to put on a limited liability statement on the invoices. And I came into this firm, and for about 3 years, they would copy paste the limited liability statement into every single invoice.
My goodness.
Just because it was missed. It didn't click that, why don't we just change the precedent?
I was going to change the template,
Absurd, completely absurd situation.
Right.
But this is obviously a very extreme example. But again, the partners don't notice it. I get an invoice, I mark it up, I hit okay, it goes out correct. But then there's someone doing essentially a completely pointless task.
And all these little things like that, they mount up. If someone's away who's been doing that kind of process, and that doesn't actually happen, there's issues. So you're relying on people to plug those holes rather than the systems.
Absolutely. And I guess the other problem is that, especially with junior lawyers coming into a firm, they grew up on iPhones. Everything was easy. Everything made sense. You don't want them to kind of feel like they're in the 80s again. My first law job, I was given a pair of headphones and a pair of pedals to control the dictation, when you have to dictate. I just walked into this office surrounded by the folders, even headphones and pedals to listen to a lawyer speak, to try to dictate. I was like, what just happened? Did I just go back in time? So this is obviously an extreme example, but I think for staff retention, for just the frustration that you have day to day, is if you think through the tools and you make things easy for lawyers, then you get a lot happier staff and you get more productivity. One of the things just mentioned is knowledge work is different to other work. Like somebody could sit there for 8 hours and do very little. Somebody could sit there for 2 hours and get 8 hours of work done. It really is that simple. So give them everything they need.
That actually helps attract the right kind of staff that actually creates succession plans. It makes the firm more valuable by having all the sort of stuff set up the right way.
Yes. The other thing to keep in mind is that and this is always comes up, is it takes a lot of effort to train a staff member, especially junior staff members. When a grad comes in, they're more of a drain than anything else, at least initially. 2 years out, they've got some experience. The expectations are much higher. So you need to provide, both on a culture, but also a systems environment where it would be silly for them to go anywhere else.
Yep.
Everything just works. Everything is there. The systems, the processes is what gives people such a good experience that changing into something else would be drastic. If the day-to-day is a frustration, if the day-to-day, and this, I'm not a people and culture person, but I know a lot of consultants that are, if the culture's bad, if the tools aren't there, you're not going to retain staff, especially now.
Yeah, so true. So true. You specialize in small and mid-sized firms?
I would say mid-size.
Mid-size, yeah.
One thing I'd like to say about small, mid-size or large is they're all largely small firms for a lot of areas. So you have a conveyancing team, you have a property team, you have a litigation team, an IP team. So they all want the same thing. They all want really good task management, really good email management. They want the same tools. The only difference between a large firm, and we deal with anything from 10 to 150, the only difference in a large firm is reporting and billing. Reporting and billing, they've got, and kind of the control around that accounting piece is that critical aspect, at least in a kind of a full services firm. For what you would call specialized firms, like we do personal injury, work cover, we've got 70 staff, that's what we do. Then it's, again, they still need a practice management system, but there's a lot more automation required to make that viable. But for most practices, what an individual would want is the same thing, but what a team would want. And so we don't differentiate. And
if firms want to find out more about like how they can be more efficient, they can get their systems working properly, their process working properly, they just contact you on LinkedIn or on a website?
LinkedIn, or just email me at david@newlaw.com, or go on the website or LinkedIn. And generally, because we've done this hundreds of times, we've implemented almost every product for every area of law. Fairly quickly, we get a good sense of where we should put in our effort. Precedents, whether it's a system change. So if you're stuck on a system that's locked in, doesn't integrate with anything, and you've got all these plans for bulk marketing, then that might be the first problem. But sometimes it's something small. Sometimes it's a bit hard to make clear, but at least initially there are what you would call substantive changes that need to be done over a period of time, and you need a timeline for that, knowing that all these systems will work together. But sometimes there's quick wins, and the quick win could be something really simple, like, we don't like the cheaper PDF editor that the firm has bought. It's causing a lot of frustration. Let's just spend the extra $20 a month. Or it could be time tracking is a real problem in our firm. Let's have a look at getting my time or Wise time, because that's going to be an issue. Or we've got aging is out of control. We've got millions of dollars owing to us. Let's get something. If we can't do it in the PMS, let's get a separate product. Like there's a bunch, but like /Synergy that will do the bespoke follow-ups to lawyers. Let's solve some obvious problems first.
David, thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. It's absolutely a pleasure. Thank you.
Brilliant.